course, live on social media right now as well. Myself, Gordon and Tom with you, and our guest making a welcome return to Pure West Sport this Monday evening is the head of rugby at Tenby United RFC, Jon Evans. How are you?
Very good, Ben. Thank you for having me on again.
Excellent. It's really good to have you on as well, actually. And if you don't mind me starting with just a slight change to your job title this year, how's that going and what does that involve?
So about 18 months ago, we got our then Tenby Seasiders going again, so basically second team rugby. The demand was there, and that's kind of snowballed really into our athletic joining the National League. So they're in Division 4 now, and it's kind of just plugged a bit of a gap in our pathway really, as far as those 18-year-olds coming into senior rugby and possibly some others going the other way. In their kind of 30s to late 30s, dare I say early 40s. So structure-wise, we pretty much needed to double everything that happens off the field, really. So personnel-wise, we've got some great people on board now as far as the volunteering with regards to coaching, the first aid, team managers and what have you. So I kind of try and oversee it all. But there are plenty of other people supporting and yeah, it's going well. It is going well.
That's really good. And I want to talk about a good weekend you had and a good result on Saturday in just a sec. But just rewind a little bit to the start of this season. How was the mood going into this season, having just so narrowly missed out on promotion last season? Of course, it was close, wasn't it, at the end of the season? Did you have to do a job there, Jon, to lift things? Or did that good feeling still stay within the squad as you started this season?
Do you know, it was one of those that maybe hurt for a few days. Not much more than that, really. Aberystwyth are a good side. They're established Division 1 club. Their catchment area. They were geared. They're ready for Championship rugby. And if we're honest, we probably had we definitely had a much better season than we expected. First year in Division 1 for a while, and then all of a sudden we were in a title race with them, which was good fun. Both clubs had some 7 bonus point wins in a row from January in, matching each other all the way, and that's how it ended with them finishing a point ahead. So they were ready to go up. We probably weren't. We could have taken the step, and I think we'd have probably held our own. But timing wise, like I mentioned, the Athletic coming into Division 4, the focus really this summer was geared towards the kind of making sure that we were in the right place to play regular Division 1 rugby and compete there, but also compete in Division 4. So that was the focus. And then, come September, the Athletic got off to a great start. They're kind of finding out now exactly what league rugby's about. So lost 3 league games in a row, but, there aren't too many clubs that win more than half their league games. So, that's the reality of it. And they're learning a few valuable lessons pretty quick.
So the start of the season then, and a big win at the weekend, putting 47 points without reply against Kidwelly, which was great, and 3 wins from 4. Jon, what's your assessment of the results you've had, and also the involvement of some really talented young players in that first 15 as well?
Yeah, so with the first team 3 from 4, the Athletic were 2 from 5. We'd have probably taken that, maybe snuck another Athletic win along the way, but ultimately, it's a great start across the board. If the first 15 finish having won 3 out of 4 the whole season, then you're looking at probably top 3, top 4 again. The players in the squad will know that they're capable of better than that, and hopefully that is the case. But start wise, we can't really fault it. We've used a wealth of players. Like the first team have used 35. The Athletic are on about 48. That's only 5 games in. So there's various reasons for that. But player pool wise, the numbers are there. The challenge is to make sure we got 40 every week now, because there isn't really a choice. Whereas second team rugby, there is that little bit of a choice where if you don't fancy it come Thursday, Friday, you could kind of knock it on the head and move it on later in the year. Whereas your league rugby, you play. And we're pretty proud of, in the last 6 or 7 years, certainly in my time, we've never pulled a game. We'll play with what we got, and whatever happens.
Let me go to Gordon.
Yeah, the demise of second team rugby, John, you've just put the nail on the head there. It was just more a social sort of rugby back in the day. And with the new league structures going back to my day when the Heineken Leagues formed, we lost the second teams. I think developing rugby is very important. You have your youth, your second team, and your first team squad. How do you see it? Is it going? It's obviously benefiting the Seasiders now. Now they've returned to that sort of format.
Yeah, you've got to have the pathway. So we have got 15 plus players at every age group from under sevens up, and it's taken time, and there's coaches involved with those teams that make sure that they're providing the quality and enjoyable rugby, so that when they get to youth and beyond, you've got a dozen or so coming into senior rugby. Once you've got to that, then I think you're in a position then to maybe look at it. But if you look at the county as a whole, Milford have picked up a few second team games this year. Haverfordwest are doing it. I think I saw St David's were going to have a development game. Crummock have obviously been doing it for years. Narberth have doing it for years. So, there is definitely room for, as you said, that social rugby. But we've had chats in Tenby the last couple of weeks that, it's social rugby, but, you turn up at Uppers 1 on a Saturday and you've got to have a competitive edge in order to enjoy it a little bit more, because you do want to be winning, and it's having that balance, because obviously we had to apply to get into the leagues. I attended meetings and we've had conversations there, and and I know that not every club was overly favourable of us joining the leagues, and they had concerns that where are the players going to come from, because the last is players take where we are. You've got Pembroke Dock, probably Neyland, Narberth. You shouldn't really be having players moving around in order to allow Tenby to have an athletic team. We have had a few players join first team rugby from a little bit out of our what you call catchment, but ultimately they're playing at a standard now that probably demands that we do look a little bit further afield, but ultimately if the environment isn't a positive one, they wouldn't want to come anyway.
No.
Some of the youngsters that have stepped into the first 15 group, John, you feel free to mention some names if you want, but just generally, it's interesting you talk about a pathway and giving those players opportunities, and that will obviously encourage the players that are younger as well coming through, but they need to be good enough as well to play. Have you taken a gamble with some of them, or are you happy with how they're adjusting to life in Division 1 West?
So if we go back 3 years ago, youth rugby dropped from 19 to 18. I would pretty much say that half of 18-year-olds are ready for Division 2 and higher, and half aren't. So we had to do something, because there were half the players coming out of our youth team that we couldn't provide for them. Squad-wise, you've got... so Ewan Duffy was the youth team hooker last year. He's come into senior rugby now at 18. And I say he's nearly ready. He's played first team rugby, he's played athletic rugby, but we know he came to Hendy with us a few weeks back, and he is capable of stepping up now. We've just got to pick the right games for his development, but we also know that he's got rugby in Division 4, so as an example. But then the hooker that started Saturday was Kyle Rossiter, who's a year older. He's had 35 games of senior rugby already. Wow. At 19. So, if they're ready, not the cream, it sounds a bit extreme, but if they're good enough, they'll play. We know now, though, that regardless of where they are physically, there's rugby for them in Tenby, and that's the big thing.
Yeah. And Gord, you can pick up a bit on this as well. I'm interested when John talks about the pool of players they've got, and it's sustaining the future of rugby in Tenby as well, isn't it, by having these youngsters coming through?
100%. I mean, John's just hit the nail on the head. He's looking at every player's development as they come from junior into youth, from youth into senior level. Now they have the athletic team as well. the young lads develop at different ages physically as well. The backs tend to be a little bit more quicker and elusive. With the forwards, they do take a little bit longer to develop physically. But he has the club. I shouldn't say John has it. The club have they now can pick and choose a little bit, dropping players in here and there, and that's the pathway that John is talking about, really, for every youngster who is involved at Tenby. If they're good enough, they'll play. If they're not good enough, unfortunately, the same at any level, you'll be playing elsewhere or in the second team. They've all got a chance.
Sorry, John.
Competitive rugby is really important. A competitive sport, isn't it? At 18, 19,
100%.
We've had 2 years of second team friendlies, and the performances weren't necessarily there based on the fact that it didn't really matter. You can dress it up however you want, but it didn't. Whereas now it did. Pembroke Dock came to Tenby on Saturday in Division 4, and the ending for that match was as good as entertaining rugby as you'll ever see. Our Athletic were 11 points up, and the clock in the corner's got 82 minutes on it, and Pembroke Dock have won from there.
Wow.
But you throw in the fact that they're playing in Tenby, that's as big a game as they, that means something for them. They didn't.
Of course it does,
Tenby Athletic, and rightfully so. And they've probably found another 10%, based on the fact that it's competitive rugby against people that they know. And, our boys will learn a lot from that, and it's that you'd never have that in a second team development friendly. No way.
No, exactly. You can't beat competitive league rugby, can you? Any sport, you can't beat it. You really can't. I want to talk about your kind of aspirations for the rest of the league season. We'll do that in just a sec, John, because let's turn our attention to Saturday first. And the league will be just put to one side for one weekend because you've got a cup trip, haven't you? All the way to Wrexham on Saturday. So you're across the logistics of everything going on at Tenby, but this one must take a bit of planning because that's some journey.
Yeah, I was driving a few weeks ago and WhatsApp popped up on the car and said Wrexham away. I won't say what I said at the time, but I didn't take it seriously. I thought I was being wound up because that literally was the one away tie we didn't want. But positives, I've never played rugby up there. Most of our boys wouldn't have. Ozzy Boswell has mentioned going up there, up and back in a day a few times back in the day. So no, it'll be a good day out. It's going to be a long day. The result will hopefully make it a little better. And then our Athletic have got Britain Ferry in Division 4 Cup. I can't recall Britain Ferry coming to Pembrokeshire, let alone so it'll be good for them. They're asking if we've got room to park 2 buses. So yes to that. And who knows? Hopefully we're both in the next round draw next week.
Historic weekend. So what time are you on the road on Saturday, John?
It'll be 7 something. Again, if we're going up there, we're going to hopefully go up there as strong as we possibly can, and we want to be up there a good few hours before kick-off to stretch the legs and give it the respect it deserves, really. So yeah, we're going to get up nice and early and have some breakfast somewhere.
Yeah, it's a good 3.5 hours. I don't know. Gordon would probably go the Aberystwyth way. I'd be going through Oswald Street. Gordon, which way would you go?
Yeah, you're right. I would go Aberystwyth.
I knew you would. I just knew it.
There's Rob Garland, who's traffic police. He informed us we're going Carmarthen, Llandeilo, Llandovery.
There you go.
That's the way I go, Gord. Yeah.
The most important part is you get there, John. Doesn't matter how you get there.
And everyone comes back, and the bus is in one piece.
Exactly, and hopefully with the and do you get information on Wrexham? Is that harder to get, John?
I've had a look there. I think they're 2 or 3 from 5. They got to the semi-final last year. Carnarvon won it. They lost to. You can tell I'm a little bit obsessed with all this, can't you?
Of course you are. Yeah.
They lost to Carnarvon. They lost to Nant Conwy on the weekend. With social media and everything these days, you can see the odd snippet, but they won't know anything about us, and we probably won't know anything about them.
But hopefully they're not watching this interview. Well, listen, good luck for that at the weekend. And just back to the league then, because obviously the cup run would be nice, but I'm sure the league is your bread and butter, and you've had a decent start, as you say. Having gone close last season, and you said maybe overachieved slightly, but you were so close against ABBA. What are the targets this season? Do you set them again?
Yeah, there's the club targets, and that's just fulfilling fixtures. The Division 1 or the Championship will make a blind bit of difference for the club as a whole. Mm-hmm. There are 4 more games in the Championship, so you could argue there's 2 more home games. That would be the only difference. There's no revenue as far as WRU are concerned there. If you ask any of the players, they're going to want to win the league. There's only one club going up. So last year we lost twice and missed out. We've already lost once this year. Bury Porter maximum points, 5 bonus points from 5. So it's going to be another massive ask. If we can go into the last kind of 2-3 games in with a shout, I think we'd have to be happy with that. And then the Athletic, if we can come anywhere close to winning half the games for the boys, I think that would be a positive. But again, for the club, it doesn't really matter. But I think the growth for that team it's important that they learn how to win, but also they learn from those defeats. So we'll see how they get on. Like I said, they're 2 from 5, so they're kind of a little bit below that target, but hopefully they can sort that out over the next month or so.
But that side is playing a really important part, isn't it? As you said, in the club and the structure and the ethos as a whole, just having that team playing competitively, John, that sounds a really good thing. And actually, you're securing the future of rugby in Tenby for years to come, I think, with the setup you've got.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of hard work going on behind the scenes from people to make sure that this is working. We've got to make sure that there's I'm not going to be around forever, and the guys that we're not all going to be there doing it. It's to make sure that there are people to carry this on, because we don't just pick and choose to be in Division 4 now. That's for the long term. It's not an option every season. We're in, and we've got to stay there. So we are going to have to work hard, and this is where the winning helps. We've got a first team environment. There's been a lot. We haven't lost at home for like 2.5 years with the first team. Wow. The Athletic have lost at home now twice, but it would have been unfair to compare. I think we were probably guilty of thinking that the Athletic could just turn up and carry on that winning mentality, but that was never going to be the case. They have to earn that.
And also not a bad lesson to teach some of those young players either.
Well, take last weekend. 11 points up with nigh on a minute to play. Wow. The ref had called last play and we're still playing. That ball should have been kicked out. It's little things like that. They won't make that mistake again.
No, exactly. And when it matters in a league game rather than a friendly, actually there's something on it, isn't there?
You never kick the ball out of a friendly. You play until you don't ask them how long's left, and just because you've won, kick it off in a friendly. Whereas league rugby, you do. Yeah,
indeed. Well, listen, John, we could talk rugby with you all night. You're more than welcome on the show anytime as well. Great to have you on this evening. As Gordon said, safe travels to Wrexham there and back in a day. I hope that goes well, and hopefully that coach back will be. I think it will be lively whatever happens, but it will be a bit sweeter with a win, will it not?
It certainly will. Yeah. I think the players they're going to enjoy whatever happens. They'll be enjoying.
Good stuff. Well, from us all here, good luck. Keep up the good work. We'll speak to you again soon. Thank you, John. We're going to come back for the final pass of Pure West Sport in just a few moments.
Pure West Sport Show, sponsored